My first year in coaching, I made $12,000. Like, that's terrible. We have coaches now doing that in a day.
So before we started AR Funnel, I was a coach that was struggling to manage 20 clients. And I know that sounds crazy to maybe some of you, but I had so many other platforms that I was using, between a payment processor, WhatsApp for messaging, Calendly for actual calendar scheduling, no reminders for anything, no follow-ups for anything, Typeform for applications. Like, it was everywhere, and a completely different Google Sheets for programming, for God's sake. Like, it was an absolute nightmare to try to manage it. And I was like, what? How are these companies getting so big whenever I'm locked out with 2 people working on 24 clients? And so what I ended up doing was, I had a bunch of stuff going on at the time, but I ran across this guy at the gym. Maybe you can kind of tell it from there.
Yeah, so my background is being a personal trainer, also had an online business as well, and I'd kind of shifted into the e-com world where I was working at the time. We worked with 100 different fitness businesses, had an e-commerce brand, ended up doing 10 million in sales. And at the time when I met my girlfriend, my now wife, she had an online coaching company as well, just leaving a job. And she was getting some applications here and there, and she was getting a lot of people inside of a Facebook group, and it was just, I want to say unorganized, but just not structured like an e-commerce brand was. So when I met Bakker, he was running into a lot of the same issues that Paula was running into, which was typically running applications only and saying, hey, I'm looking for 5 new people to start with me this month. They're doing these really hard call to actions, and which was a lot of the same mistakes that I see e-commerce companies make when they're like, sell, sell, sell. I basically had this big epiphany. It's like, well, why don't coaches now start focusing on getting leads instead of clients? And so that's when it came about, to where it's like, well, okay, well, how can we get leads for coaches? Because it's not about getting applications, it's about having conversations, because most people aren't filling an application unless you've already had a conversation prior. And so what happened is now we're thinking, okay, well, this coach has 300 Facebook group members, but they only got 30 applications. Like, what's the difference there? Well, somebody inside a Facebook group is a lead. Well, this person gets 300 downloads of a cookbook, but they only get 25 applications. What's the difference? It's like, well, people want to learn from you, they're just not ready to buy from you. And so what we did was we came together and said, how can we help coaches? How can we help the old me, the person that started online coaching in 2012 that had no idea what they were doing, the person that Bakker is currently struggling with at that time, my now wife, like, what can we do to get more leads inside the business? And he showed me the software he was using, and I thought, like, wow, this thing has some real potential behind it. This uses a lot of the same strategies I use on the e-com side. My first year in coaching, I made $12,000. Like, that's terrible. We have coaches now doing that in a day. And we really just started the brainstorm, and then lo and behold, AR Funnel was created on how to get leads inside of a coaching business instead of just clients, because you can't get a client without a lead. And from there, it just took off. And we went from basically 0 to 7 figures, 17 months of helping coaches. And the volume of coaches that we've worked with since has just been incredible. And the fact that I'm like, one of the proudest statistics I have is that if you do over 10,000 in sales already, like, you don't leave our platform, because we automate so much for you and make your job so much easier. But at the same time, we've worked with so many coaches that are just starting out, that just don't know how to get leads. They just don't know what to do, and they just do an application because that's what somebody told them to do, or that's what they saw somebody else do. To be able to get to where, like, you can quit your corporate job and you have a full system and you know exactly what to do, like, that's also just as fulfilling, because that is the old me.